3, 2.
Hey everybody, we are back. Woohoo!
Yay!
Grab your disco whistles. Whoop whoop. We're gonna have some fun.
Ooh.
Boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats. So I just wanted to look up the dates for Atlanta Pride. Is going to be October 8th and 9th here in Atlanta, Georgia. Obviously, duh. Lots of fun. Piedmont Park. There'll be a parade. I mean, it's usually a great time. There's a lot of great music in the park and that kind of thing. It's fun. It's fun. Bring a couple of dollars to donate to the Pride Committee. They appreciate that. There's a lot of good food out there at the park, and a lot of merchants as well to buy like rainbow stuff and that kind of stuff. It's fun. If you've not been and you are straight, you may come if you're respectful. If you decide not to be respectful, then get out of the park. It's not your time. It's our time.
I think
This is
it's
not
fair.
your party. It's not your party. It's like going to like um any other, cordoned off group of people's party and then being obnoxious about, whoa, why are all the people up here? No. Be nice.
Just
Be
be
nice.
kind.
Be kind. Be gentle. Be good to each other. The Bill and Ted rule. Party on, dudes, but be excellent to one another. That's the rule. I think as we're moving into the future, obviously this next election is going to be huge for us. The midterm is huge, and I've been looking at data because I'm a bit of a political nerd.
Yeah, especially in this state,
Oh yeah,
right?
oh yeah,
Because I think, a lot of us, at least on our side of the fence, that I mean to the left, that
Yeah. Be careful.
we
there, Mikey.
were happy that we were able
Mike.
to turn things.
This isn't your coming out party. I don't know if you got the memo.
That we were able to turn things around in the presidential election, to put a stop to the previous administration as much as we could. Obviously, the damage has been done, right? Like
A lot
that
of
4
damage, yeah.
years was like so much damage, more so than I think that we had taken many, many, many steps back, right?
Yes.
So and as much as we voted for this administration that's now there with Biden and everything, I feel like they're not doing enough. Like I feel like they're too quiet. Like it's not. I could be wrong. So and I know in this state we've got like at least 2 seats that are really, really important deciders that are going to foretell what's going to happen in the future, period, because this state was a big factor in the presidential election.
Yeah, we were. I think
Do you guys feel like this administration's not helping enough?
No, I think they're helping. I think they've done a lot. I think Congress has actually pulled a lot of good moves lately. Of course, I would like to see them do more. They're hamstrung by a 50-50 Senate, which most people don't understand. That means nothing's going to get done.
Rule.
And the filibuster rule. And the thing used to be, well, if you take away the filibuster, we'll take it away on our side when we get control again, and then we'll stop Planned Parenthood. Well, that's a done deal now.
Yeah, I mean, it happened anyway.
Yeah, Dobbs has solved that. So the filibuster not being there, yeah, the filibuster's no longer a filibuster like people think, like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, if you've seen that movie. You no longer have to stand up and talk for hours and days on end. All you have to do is say, yeah, I filibuster, and that's it. No, I think if you're going to filibuster a bill, you need to
you got to
stand
go through
there.
the work for it.
You need to talk, because this is too easy. I filibuster. That's too easy. No, I want McConnell to stand on his 80-something-year-old hips for hours on end and filibuster those bills if he wants it bad enough. And I would say the same on my side. That's the thing. I believe both sides should act the same way. If that's what you want to do, filibuster the bill. But that means you're going to start reading out of the old white pages if you can find a copy. I don't care what you're doing, but if you want to run off the clock, you better run it out in a noble way, not a stupid way.
Not a cowardly way.
Not a cowardly way. The interesting data about what happened in the presidential election here in Georgia is the fact that when they went to look at that, and obviously the votes have been really scoured through for some strange reason, 3-hand recounts, people, they discovered that a lot of Republicans didn't vote for president. They voted for the senator candidate, but they didn't vote for president. They couldn't bring themselves to hit that
vote
button.
for him.
Him.
Him who shall not be named.
Yeah. So they didn't.
We don't talk about her either, though.
No,
so anymore.
We don't either. So that was how he got so many votes, because if you remember the Senate races, they went to a runoff. Both of them did.
Right.
So they were much closer than the presidential race. And then I think he tanked the Senate races by coming back and saying the stuff that he did in a very strong red area. And then all of us who got blue got our hankles up and said, oh no, we're not letting this happen. And we delivered the Senate to Democratic senators. Thank God. I think this year we have to act like he is on the ballot, and we have to act like our rights are on the ballot. And if we don't act that way, we're going to pay a big penalty for it.
Well, you really have to go up against. He is on the ballot, dude. He has handpicked certain candidates to be running, and they've gotten. You see signs on the side of the road, endorsed by Trump. You know, and oops, sorry, I said the name.
You did 3 times, and he gets summoned. I'm telling you, don't say it. I've seen Beetlejuice. I know how this works. I don't have enough sea salt and sage in this studio to take care of that problem. Okay.
But you see it all the time. You see, you know, and so you have to go up against these candidates.
But I'm saying you have to be energized. You have to be as involved as you were before when he was actually on the ballot. You can't pretend that he's not on the ballot. You have to imagine that he is coming back. You know, it's we vanquished the vampire, but now we have to stake the vampire. We've got to do. This is a multiple boss fight.
It's quite offensive that's quite offensive to vampires everywhere.
Well,
that's
the
awful.
Vampire community.
I apologize.
Always getting put down.
I apologize to the Count on Sesame Street, but I will never apologize to those Twilight Sparklers.
That is Vaughn.
So
I mean, people don't want to show up for the midterms. It is hard to round people up and get them to vote in the midterms. It always is. And I hope people understand how important it is this year, because there is so much on the line. I mean, the actual direction of the country for years to come
is on the line. Dobbs has created such a furor among women who may not have voted Democratic before, but are this time, according to what the polls are saying, because they don't think that you should take their autonomy away.
I don't believe the polls anymore.
It's always harder to take rights away than to give them.
Exactly. You have to fight for rights.
I know.
That 80s song was not lying. You've got to fight for your right. That's the way it is.
But the thing is, I don't believe in the polls anymore. I don't go by that.
I've never been polled, ever. Take that how you will.
I was going to make a comment there, Darren. I was going to.
So I don't believe in the polls.
That's not what was written on the bathroom wall.
I do think Kansas was an indicator.
Oh my God! When Kansas came down, almost the reddest of the red states, and they rejected that.
I was so happy.
Abortion ban. I was like, oh my God, maybe there's hope after all. That was one of the key things that gave me hope. And then there was a congressional rep in New York who won in a traditionally Republican district, and that Democrat won, and I'm like, oh, people are ticked. I there is something about a Supreme Court overreach. You heard about this way before, where we think the court might have overreached on this decision, blah blah blah. They overreached on the Dobbs decision big time, and Roberts was trying to pull them back from this precipice, and they're like, no. And they had 5 justices ready to sign off on it. Roberts is the 6th conservative-ish vote, and you have 3 liberals. So you can't say the Supreme Court is not a political body now. It is. It's completely a political body.
Oh, it absolutely is.
So
yes, very much so.
This is our bigger problem is those folks are elected for their lifetimes.
Right. I mean, this is not about the rule of law.
No.
This has nothing to do with the rule of law.
Not at all.
This has everything to do with political bias and racism and sexism.
And homophobia and xenophobia. And I mean, The list goes on. All the phobias.
Oppression and cruelty.
Oppression, as long as you're not a white straight man who's a Christian, and by Christian I mean probably Protestant.
I mean, in Florida.
Oh my God!
I live in Florida. You want to talk about, he who should not be named?
Seriously.
Yet, I'm going to name him because I want people to know that Ron DeSantis is.
I hope those migrants get every dollar out of his butt. I really do, because that was cruel. It was just
blatant cruelty. No one can argue that was not one of the cruelest things. And this is what's happened. Politician could do. Yeah,
this is what's happened to the GOP. It is now who can be the biggest bully, who can be the cruelest, who can do this to these people and get away with it. That's where we are. We have some reps who we don't need to name them, but they say horrible things. We have people who use media to say horrible things about people they don't know. Several of them are now in court dealing with all the millions of dollars they're going to have to pay out for saying these things. But let's mention a guy who made a career about it, who is no longer with us, Mr. Limbaugh. Remember him?
Oh, God.
But that's the thing. He's dead now.
I loved it when he got thrown off.
He's dead now, but his legacy is not dead.
Well, his legacy's not dead, but of course, no one has anything good to say about him. He's dead. That's it. He brought nothing positive to the discussion. And the same thing for these people. I hate to say. The same thing. These are people who are not being constructive. They're not helping to solve the country's problems, and they don't deserve our time and our media attention. They really need to be thrown out of office and shunned for some of their attitudes. They really do. And that's just where that is. And I think what we're seeing is, as the baby boomers unfortunately have to leave us because age is a thing, and the kids coming up from generation Y and Z are beginning to vote, we're going to see our hope come back, because these kids don't care. We just have to get them to vote. Gen X never had the political power of the baby boomers or the generations after us. There weren't enough of us to take control. That's why you hardly see any politicians in our age group up there, because there was no one's going to vote for us. They voted for the old guys until they died, and then their son took over, and everyone went, yeah, well, he's familiar, or whatever, The fact that Alaska said yes to a Democrat for the first time in 50 years,
yes,
gives me hope.
Yeah, there are glimmers of hope. Mm-hmm. And they don't have to stop there.
No.
If that can happen in Kansas and Alaska, in that district in New York, there is no reason why it cannot happen in other places.
The thing is, people cannot get complacent. That's the thing.
No, you can't get complacent. You have to vote. You can't say, oh, well, the polls say we're going to win by 5 points, so don't bother. No, you need to go vote. If you have a friend who is not registered, get them registered. I don't care. Get them registered to vote. If they need a drive to the polls, you get them transportation to the polls.
But you can't bring them water in some areas.
But Georgia has made it so difficult for people to get out and vote now. So very difficult. There are people waiting 8 to 10 hours in line to vote now, and that is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous in our state. We have a good amount of people here. You need to make voting something that automatically happens. I think it was Oregon, maybe it was Washington, where they said if you get a driver's license or a state issued ID, you're automatically registered to vote, and they don't purge their voter rolls like Georgia is infamous for. So even if you are registered to vote right now, you need to check and make sure you're still registered.
Got to keep on top of it.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's like your hotel reservation for Dragon Con. You got to check on that baby every month.
You don't want to come to the part where when you get to the poll and you say, "What? I registered in the primary."
Been registered.
Yeah, exactly. I voted in the primary. Oh, but you're not here anymore, sir.
Yeah, you're not on the list.
Yeah. Double check, because that's the one thing that happened in Georgia. It was a ripple effect from what happened with the president. Immediately they're like, how can we close that door, make sure it doesn't happen again?
So if that does happen, ask for a provisional ballot.
Ask for a provisional ballot and cast it anyway at that point. Record what occurs, even though you can't use your cell phone inside a polling place. Isn't that a convenient law, folks? But you record it and you get a hold of the national voting rights. They'll probably send you to the ACLU or whatever local org is handling the complaints, because there are, and don't be intimidated by poll watchers. If you have people who are like at the door of your poll, you are allowed to vote if you are in line before the closing time. That's
Do not
the law.
let them talk you out of it.
Don't let them talk you out of getting out of line. Stay there. Like, I am here to vote. Period.
And don't listen to them if they say, "Oh wait, the line ends here. You're too late."
No. It's 6:59.
It does not work that way.
It is 6:59. I'm allowed to be in line. You need to move the end of the line behind me and whoever else is going to be here in the next 35 seconds. Period.
So it's difficult for me because I'm in the sort of the eye of the hurricane that is the Georgia election. For me to, I mean, I've seen things outside, and I know that there's a couple of races in particular. I mean, look, they're all important. And one thing that I will suggest to people is that if you're gonna go vote, which you should absolutely need to do, look at who's running before you go in there, because a lot of people just look at the headline names and then don't pay attention to the rest. I mean, everybody on that ballot is important. So make sure you look at all that. But so we've got on a national level, you know, we've got that Senate seat open, the House seat open, and then we've got the governorship. As far as nationwide, is there any other race in other states that are key, do you think?
I think the Dems need to keep the Senate for sure. The question is going to be how well they do in the House.
Yeah, it is quite possible that we'll lose the House.
At which point the January 6th committee's work will stop immediately once they are seated in January, which is why the January 6th committee's got to get everything done and do the referrals before the end of the term, the end of the year. Because we both know Cheney and Kinzinger will not be on that committee after the end of the year. So they've got to deal with that. So they've got to get their report written. They've got to get it published. They've got to get it out there, period. And I think they've done a very good job of explaining how everything was constructed and how it wasn't just like a rally that got out of control, that this was actually a plan. I'm thinking that was the most amazing part of what they've done, is that they explained it A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I was like, why do we need so many hearings about just a bunch of people who tried to overthrow the government? No, it was a plan. And all that stuff that you kind of thought might have happened, actually, they strung everything together really nicely. This led to that, which led to that, which led to that. As a sci-fi fan and a political fan, I'm like, oh, this is perfect. They've explained it. This explains it to everybody without needing cliff notes. You've got the testimony right there. And the brilliant thing that they did is they've only used, for the most part, testimony from Republicans. This is what happened, except for like some of the people who were like poll workers who may have been Democratic or whatnot. Most of the people they interviewed were Republicans in that. I think we've got that's going to be the big one to watch, is the House. I think the Senate, we're going to be fine. I certainly think Reverend Warnock has done a great job, and I hope he gets to continue to do a great job. And I certainly hope that Ms. Abrams is able to swing a victory based upon my personal leanings towards having a government that's not going to try to lock me up at some point because I'm gay. That's just where I am with that. It's kind of funny, as an LGBTQer, I thought you didn't have a choice about how to vote. You typically voted Democrat because you didn't want to have to deal with all the oppression. But there are some of us who still vote Republican, and it drives me nuts.
Oh yeah, the log cabin Republicans have very much still exist. How they reconcile that within themselves, I don't know. They must really hate themselves.
Internalized homophobia is the only way I can go with that, and it's sad, but that's just the way it is, because you don't want to vote for a party that is in their platform to outlaw your existence.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just where that is.
Erase your existence.
And everyone's like, well, you're going to be a Democrat, aren't you? Well, yeah, because there's not a choice that I'm given, you know? But even if I wasn't LGBTQ and I'm looking at the platforms, I'm like, I don't want a con man in charge of my government.
Right.
Just don't. I don't want people who have to cheat to win. And I would like to have an actual platform. I would like to have an actual platform. It's funny. It's like you'll get higher taxes with blah blah blah. Okay, and the higher taxes that they're putting on people are for people making 400,000 and more, Bubba. When you make $400,000, you give me a call.
I would like people to just actually do their job.
Yeah, with that broken down car
refreshing.
in your driveway, you tell me when you get enough money to fix that, and we'll talk about your higher tax rate.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen taxes go down. So it's just inevitable. No matter who's in charge, they're always going to go up.
I mean, sales tax typically is way higher in states without a state income tax because they've got to make up the revenue.
Yeah, right? There's always a tax one way or another.
There's always a tax.
Sure.
So,
but I mean, the important thing is what is that money being spent on?
You'll get a tax. You'll get a tax. Everyone will get a tax.
So the fact that taxes will go up, that's not a big deal to me. I'm like, how are we treating our people?
Exactly. Well, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And all this garbage they put out every year, it's like, oh, so-and-so supported this. It's like.
I'm like, good. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for letting me know. They supported that? Heck yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I saw a commercial today where Stacey Abrams was talking to Whoopi Goldberg, and Whoopi says, so you want to be president someday? And Stacey Abrams says, yes, I would. And then there's like this ominous music.
Dun, dun, dun.
Like that's the worst thing she could have said. And I'm like, actually, that commercial says a lot. That Black woman, all she did was say, yes, I'd like to be president. And that's the whole basis of your commercial. That's the fear. The majority in power.
And that works
fair out there.
Because Florida has a huge amount of white nationalist groups embedded in it currently. Huge.
Oh, God, yes.
That's where the Proud Boys leader was living, or still is living.
So does South Georgia, dude.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So, I mean, this is just the world we're in, and we got to get people over this. Racism really, is not a way for us to go forward as a country.
Are we at the point where ads really will sway anybody?
I don't think so.
I doubt it.
I know we have the infamous independent, I just think it's to put the names out there more. It's to remind you of who's actually running, than anything else. And then to say, well, this person's awful. Well, this person's worse, that kind of thing. Because I've not seen a positive political campaign work in my lifetime.
Oh my God. I am so sick of watching YouTube right now because of all the political ads.
I am this close to paying for the ad-free version of YouTube.
It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse before it gets better.
I can't wait for the political ads to come to Disney Plus. That'll be fun.
No, I don't pay for commercials on Disney Plus. Thank God.
Exactly. So,
no. But it's interesting too because there's a lot on the line here in the midterms, and usually, every election should count. It's your right as an American citizen. I know we have a lot of international people listening to our shows, but as an American citizen, you're born with the right to vote, and it should be an honor to vote every couple years or whatever. You shouldn't take it for granted. Oh, I'm not going to vote because my vote doesn't count.
Yes, it does.
Whatever. Oh, it does. We found out.
If we have not figured that out yet, those 3 days waiting for Georgia to come in.
When they were doing the count, I stayed up all night.
I was up all night. I was like, oh my God, we're 200 votes behind. I was like live streaming it on Twitter and Facebook that day. I'm like, oh my God, here we are. Oh my God, we won. Yeah, it was amazing. It was great. And of course the recounts were going to come because it was so close.
Sure.
But had you told me we were going to go blue, I wouldn't have believed you because we've been red since Clinton, and not just slightly red, like strongly red. But I think what's happened now is Atlanta forgot to tell people that we're full, and we've got more people living in a metro area now than ever before. And those people have switched their political thinking because they now understand what it's like to live in a city. They understand what it's like to live in an urban area, and their priorities have shifted. And that's where that is. You have suburban families who want to take care of their kids, but they also understand that if you don't take care of the people around you as well, that's going to bleed into your community. And that's not pretty. We have to take care of people, even people unable to take care of themselves. That's our obligation as human beings to each other, honestly.
It
And
amazes me
that's the
how
hallmark of
many
just being a good person.
Not to mention the fact that at some point you're going to need somebody to take care of you.
Yep, that karma will come around.
It absolutely will.
That karma will come around in a heartbeat.
You're completely right. You are so right, guys. And you know what? That's one of the things you have to have hope for is maybe people will get it through their thick head, and it's not all just about them. It's about everybody. You know, it's all about and you know, if I hear somebody else say, because I say stuff like that, oh, damn hippie love Faber, what are you talking about? You know, but it's true. It is. It's all about.
I'm not a hippie. I still believe that. Yeah.
No. Oh, I know you're not a hippie. Trust me. I know.
There's not a tube of patchouli in my house, dude. No.
No.
Ixnay on the patchouli.
No. No, I think you're right, Mike. Because I mean, you hear it all the time, especially from the other side. It's like whenever a celebrity or someone with a voice speaks out, it's like, oh, who are they? And like, look, we're just 4 podcasters here, right? So, but we don't pretend to be anything more. But that's the thing. That's the beautiful thing about it. Like, whether you're a podcaster, whether you're a plumber, whether you're a custodian, whether you're an actress, no matter who you are, you have a right in this country, and you have a vote and a voice.
And that's what it should be. Use it, folks. This is what it's all about.
Use it or lose it. I mean,
literally.
Absolutely.
There are people out there who want you to lose it. Yeah, that's the thing.
They are fighting very hard for you to lose it. So that means you have to fight harder to keep it.
There have been political conversations, and I kid you not, recently about stripping contraception from drugstore shelves because contraception should be controlled. No condoms. That'll all be gone if that passes. There's been talk about, this country was a lot better before we gave women the right to vote. That was actually a real political conversation that occurred, not a fakey satire one. You have to stand up and protect your rights, or your rights will be taken from you. That's just what is about on our doorstep right now. We have a group of people in this country who believe that their way is the right way, and they don't care about the facts, and they don't care about the rule of law, and they will do whatever it takes to get to where they want to be. And that, what we saw on January 6th, was a dress rehearsal.
Handmaid's Tale could be very scary and real.
Gilead could be coming. We don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was a beautiful thing about Margaret Atwood's book, is she put everything she put in that book was something that had happened in real life on this planet beforehand. None of that stuff that happened in that book was fake. That was all real human events that she put together in her dystopia to say, this would be horrible if everything happened at one time, wouldn't it? And she's damn well right.
Yeah, I remember when I read that book the first time many years ago, and thinking, it had been marketed as a fantasy book, basically, alternative reality. And I'm reading this, and the whole time I'm going, this is life. This is the world. This is what is happening now.
Yep. Dystopia. Blah.
You're in it.
Totally. We are in it right now. Wake up and smell the coffee. We're in it.
Yeah. It's not coming. It's here.
It's here. it's here.
Yeah.
When you have a president who says, can't we shoot the protesters of the Black Lives Matter march that's outside the White House, and then he gets police to tear gas them out of the way so he can have a photo op? We're here.
And he couldn't even hold the frippin' Bible right. Jesus.
No,
I
literally
understand, as a member
That's why I did
of
that.
many marginalized groups, how easy it is to kind of decide that nothing you can do is going to make a difference.
It's easy to just throw your hands up and say, I give up. I give.
That's really
that's what they're relying on.
Exactly. But that was the point I was going to try to make, is that that's exactly how they want you to think, how your oppressors want you to think. They want you to believe that you don't have a voice, and that is absolutely not true. At this point in time, you absolutely have a voice, and you can make a change.
You can, and you should. You definitely should. There was a gay play. It was made a movie called Love, Valor, Compassion, and in it, and this is like in the early '90s when it came out. There's this very established married gay couple, not married, but they might as well be married. They're just not married legally married at that time, and they're complaining about having to go to this AIDS benefit. And one of the partners says, haven't we done enough for AIDS? And there are two guys there who have HIV in that scene. And one of them yells, no one has done enough yet for AIDS. And that's where you have to get with the fight. No matter how tired, no matter how beat down we are, we have to keep rising up. That's the point of the fight right now. We have to show that we're not going to back down. We're not going to go away. We're not going to be cowed. We have a voice in this society. It doesn't have to be the overwhelming majority voice, but we want to be heard, and we don't want our lives in danger. That's what we want. We want to be able to live in peace.
It's very basic.
Basic needs. But when you have a party frothing at the mouth for your death, some days, it really does set your teeth on edge, and it defines how you have to live your life. And I know other people, other minority groups can definitely relate to that just on different levels, because all of us as minorities, when we're walking through this world, we have to deal with things in our own way. We have to, whether we rely on our own spirituality to get us through it, whether we rely on our friends and family to get us through it, whether we rely on video games and comic books to get us through it. We do what we have to do in order to keep surviving and making things work for us.
And it's so easy to be distracted by so much in the world right now. And but you need to focus on what's being taken away from you while you're looking this way.
Yep.
Over here, things are going away. And folks, there are people out there who so don't want you paying attention. That's the big thing. And that's what you need to be focusing on. And before you know it, you're going to go, what happened? And not in a good way.
And that's going to be it. What did happen? You blinked. That's what happened. Because if you think about where we are now, would you have thought this in 2017? Survived a pandemic and we had a coup in the United States, a nearly attempted coup in the United States. Would you have thought that those things would have occurred? No. So
I mean, just I remember when Obama first got elected, and I watched him when he was inaugurated, walking down the street. And actually, when he was walking down the street, I was terrified.
I was terrified for him
to
too.
Shoot him, and I think everybody
absolutely terrified for him. Yeah, but it was important that he took that walk. I will say that
it was very important. That was a real show of courage. And I was crying as I was watching that, because I was thinking, this is a turning point. This means so much for this country, and it's not surprising that it's cycled back, because that's what always happens. But the point is to not give up.
Totally.
Because that is the worst thing you can possibly do, is apathy, is to just sit by and watch things happen. Because I can guarantee you they will not happen in a way that's going to benefit you.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I think
it's not meant to.
I think, Mary, as you said, it cycles back if you're apathetic. The only way it cycles forward is if you do something.
Exactly.
So everyone needs to make sure they're registered to vote, and everyone needs to go vote. And if you're not able to go vote, you need to go ahead and request your provisional ballots or absentee ballots, whatever your state district requires. Sign those suckers and get them in. Hand deliver them if you have to, because the post office is still janky.
Yeah, you really should hand deliver them if you can.
And ask your friends, ask your family, what's up? Why aren't they voting? When are they voting? What are they going to vote? Blah, blah, blah. Do all that stuff. That's how we do this, one household at a time. And we get it done. There was actually, in Queer as Folk, the original series on Showtime, they had an election storyline in that show. And Debbie, who was not gay, but she was the diner mother of all the gays in the neighborhood, basically, she wouldn't let them eat until they went to go vote, and showed her the I voted sticker. And I'm like, that's what we need to do right now. We need to, you can't come into a club until you show the I voted sticker. You need to have gone and voted. So please vote, because your livelihood is at stake. The freedoms that you have right now are at stake. And if you don't think they're not going to come for gay marriage or gay parents who have kids or any number of other rights that you enjoy right now, you are sorely mistaken. They are on the way now.
The more apathetic you are, the more emboldened they will become.
Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be an alarmist. I don't want to end this on a sour note at all. But I want to express the seriousness of the political situation that, at least from my observation, I think we're in. I don't want to be overblowing it, but I think it's true to say that we are on this precipice where we could slide into an abyss of fascism, or we can rise above it and prove that we actually are Americans. And that's where we're going to be.
And you have the power to do it. So please participate.
Take the power and do it. Take the power and do it before they take your power and do it to you.
Mm-hmm. What was it? One of the documentaries over the years, in other countries, the government fears the people because they've had uprisings and stuff. Here, the people fear the government. And, it shouldn't be that way. We should be the ones setting the rules for what the government does. And it's gotten too out of hand.
Agreed. It has.
So, folks, be mindful of it. Don't take it for granted. And please, go vote in November. Whatever you do, go vote. All right, folks, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back. We're going to close this sucker up. Boom.